Hey everybody! So today we're going to talk some more about aspect patterns. Today we're going to talk about the Grand Trine. I want to start out though, it's windy kind of. I want to start out though with, when I make these videos, when I make them, I am talking about the way that I read things and the way that I would read things in a chart if you were to come to me as a client. They're supposed to be helpful and give other perspectives or other ways of reading things if you're a reader yourself or you're learning or whatever, but I am in no way, shape, or form saying that that my approach is universally correct. My approach is correct for me. You might have an approach that is different and it is correct for you, and that's fine. I am not going to sit and fucking argue with anybody about anything in these videos. I won't do it. I won't do it because I'm not trying to say that I am universally right for everybody. You know, as far as my approach may not be universally right for everybody. So please take your arguments to somebody who is saying that, who is saying that they are right and they are the only one that's right. Because I'm not going to fight you about it. Whatever works for you personally is what you should do. Really. Whatever works for you. So, just want to throw that out there. So the Grand Trine. Grand Trine is an aspect pattern. It is an equilateral triangle. It'll look like boom, 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 connected. And it'll be connected by a series of trines. There's the card for the trine. And it is eye-catching. Like it's common. I see it a lot in charts. It is a common aspect pattern to see. So I figured this was a good video to make. Just because of how common it is. One of the more common aspect patterns. It's more common than, say, like a mystic rectangle or a kite. Not that, yeah, I just see these a lot more. So let's talk about the trine for a second. The trine aspect, it's harmony, it's ease, it's supportive. The planets in a trine get on together well. That translates to the planets in a grand trine get on together well. Like, let's say you had, I don't know, let's say you had, this is not a triangle shape, but I'm going to put them like this just because it's close. Let's say you had Mars, Venus, and Uranus, and they were all in a grand trine shape, right? You can actually have more than 3 planets in a grand trine. You know, you could have like a conjunction between the moon and Mars, and both of those being trine, Uranus and Venus. That's totally possible, but there will always be 3 planets in a grand trine. That is something that is agreed upon. How you actually read them might not be agreed upon by everybody, but that particular thing is something that is agreed upon. That is what a grand trine is. Or I would think that's agreed upon. I don't know why anybody would want to bitch or argue about that. So when you have okay, because trines are harmony and they are supportive, right? Sometimes they can get lazy. Same thing with the Grand Trine. It can get lazy too. Usually the Grand Trine can sometimes point to some sort of talent that the native was born with. Depending on, you know, what planets are involved, what houses they fall in, what signs we're talking about, you know, all of those, and the entire chart will kind of give you an idea as to what that talent might be. But does the person actually do anything with this talent? That really depends on the rest of the chart, because grand trines can get lazy. They can be they can be a real gift, but they can also get lazy to the point where the person might not do anything with that talent. And of course, it's up to them. They may know they have this talent and not give a shit. You know, it might not be something that they're interested in. Sometimes we're talented in things that we aren't actually interested in. And that happens, you know. So, but if it is something that they are interested in, putting out there in the world or doing something with, not letting the Grand Trine get lazy is what I would recommend. Now, how do you do that? Well, you'd want to look for, let's say you had the Mars, Venus, Uranus Grand Trine I was talking about. How lazy the Grand Trine can get kind of depends on the whole chart and what's going on with those planets. If those planets in the Grand Trine, whatever they might be, if they make a bunch of other really like harmonious aspects, like if the chart is primarily trines and sextiles and conjunctions can kind of go either way, challenging or easy, this person might be more inclined to get lazy with the Grand Trine might get lazy. Whereas if you have somebody who has a Grand Trine and some of the planets in the Grand Trine make square aspects to other things or opposition aspects to other things, this will be like the friction or the challenge necessary for the person to do something with the Grand Trine via that planet, that the square, you know. I would definitely, if you've got a Grand Trine you feel like it's a little lazy for whatever reason, definitely look at the individual planets and see what challenging aspects they make. Because you could use the tension or the challenge from, you know, like the squares or the oppositions to kind of fuel the Grand Trine to do something with it. Now, you can have, technically, Grand Trines, they're all all the planets are in the same element. Like, you'll have a water Grand Trine, air Grand Trine, fire Grand Trine, or earth Grand Trine. Like, for an earth Grand Trine, all the planets would be in a Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus. You have a planet in each sign. Personally, I don't have to see them all in the same element. I don't have to. It's not, but I will say this, when they're not all in the same element, it does tend to weaken the Grand Trine a little bit. This may be a good thing, or this may be a positive thing, or a challenge, or a challenging thing, or an easy thing, or challenging thing. That's a better way to say that. Depending on what else is going on in the chart. But if all the planets aren't in the same element, that does tend to weaken the Grand Trine a little bit. Just a little bit. But there are some people some astrologers who only read them if they happen to all be in the same element. And that's fine too. The orbs. Orbs are something that the orbs to use. This really depends on how what you like to do. I'll keep them at, I mean, the tighter the better, right? Like if you have a Grand Trine in a chart and all the, like, one planet's at 16 Capricorn, one planet's at 16 Taurus, one planet's at 16 Virgo, that's a fucking tight Grand Trine. And the tighter the aspects, the individual aspects between the planets that make the aspect pattern, the more influence the Grand Trine will have in the native's life, right? This is how that works. The closer the aspects, the stronger the influence. So, but I use 5 degrees applying and separating. I do like to see them a little tighter. But I will widen it that much. Sometimes even slightly more for the sun or the moon, if the sun or the moon is involved. Again, I know other people have different ways of doing that, and that's fine. Whatever works for you is how you should do this. Whatever feels right for you. But let me see if I missed anything here. No, I think I'm good. but yeah. Oh, one other thing. Aspect patterns are really cool. And they should be looked at. I am in no way, shape, or form saying that they shouldn't be looked at. They should be looked at. They should be looked at. I do not think they should be treated as the end-all, be-all of the chart. I think sometimes people get too hung up on these patterns. I personally feel like they do. And rather than looking at the whole chart, which you have to do, certain things get left out because the focus is so much on the Grand Trine or on the Grand Cross or on the kite or whatever the fuck aspect pattern we're talking about. I think sometimes the focus gets put too much on those things and not enough on a holistic take on the chart. So while you should certainly look at them, certainly pay attention to them, take note of them, I would not hinge my whole reading on a specific aspect pattern. I think if you do that, or if anybody does that, if I did that, I would be missing something. But that could also go over to other things too. If you're hinging your whole reading on one specific thing or whatever, I think things will get missed. Now, in some charts, and I won't say that that's universal, I guess in some charts, maybe the Grand Trine in the chart really is like the linchpin of the chart. That does happen. Or whatever aspect pattern. It can happen like that. But oftentimes, I think too much focus is put on them and not on the whole thing. And the only way you can know if these aspect patterns are like the linchpin of the chart is by looking at the whole fucking thing. That's the only way you can know that. So anyway, I just want to throw that out there. Not that they're not important, but do make sure that as cool as they are to look at, and they are cool to look at, that you are looking at the whole thing. I'm gonna get going. If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can find us at Let's Fuck with Astrology. I'm at Saturn Season Astrology on Instagram. Natalie is at Apaterno Astrology on Instagram. If you want to like or subscribe or whatever the fuck people do with videos on YouTube, you can find us by searching for Let's Fuck with Astrology in the YouTube search bar. If you do the Reddit thing, come join us on the subreddit Let's Fuck with Astrology. And if you're interested in the star cards, go to letsfuckwithastrology.com/star-cards. Okay, y'all. I'll see y'all later.